Hey guys, Darren Bass back here with a new video. With muzzleloader season here in Kansas coming up pretty quick, we still got a couple months left, but I wanted to go over a good beginner muzzleloader setup and really just a good muzzleloader setup in general. I've had this thing since I had my first job. This is the first muzzleloader that I bought out of my own money, and I've loved it ever since. This is the CVA Wolf. It was just their regular iron-sided model. I've made some upgrades since then. Don't worry, the bipod does not stay on the muzzle loader. That's just on there for when I sight it in. I've got some newer rounds that I'm trying out. I tried them whenever I had iron sights on it still, but I'm going back to them here because they just seem to be probably the best projectile that I've used out of it so far, the most accurate, at least. But we'll go over it here real quick. Shoot through this video. Again, it's just CVA Wolf. I think they were like only 140, 150 bucks at Walmart after tax whenever I first got it. Since then, I'm sure the prices went up a little bit, but not a bad muzzleloader, especially if you're just going out, you want to try out muzzleloader hunting, you don't know if you'll like it or not. Absolutely awesome option. It's cheap, and even once you get in with like your scope base and rings and your scope and everything else, if you want to do that with it, you're still only sitting around 200 to 250 bucks for a complete muzzleloader, depending on what scope and rings and stuff you decide you want to go with. Now on here, I have the Black Powder Products ring bases. That's just, in my opinion, for something like this, it's the best option. It's all in one. They're usually pretty true, so you don't have a whole lot to worry about going with something like that for these muzzle loaders. Then on top of it, we've got the Vortex Crossfire 2 3 to 9 by 40. Awesome little scope for just something like this. I recommend something that's not going to be too big. Like I don't throw like a 4 to 12 or a 3 to 15 or something like that on here, just because with this muzzleloader you're not going to be shooting out 400 or 500 yards. It's not going to compete with those super expensive muzzleloaders that you can get nowadays. But for shooting out to 100, 150, maybe even reach out to 200 yards if you really practice with it, it can absolutely do that. If you look at it here, the paint job needs a little touch up. I've got some spots that are coming off through the years of it being painted up like this that need to be touched up. Other than that, it's been an awesome little muzzle loader. I've killed, I believe, 7, 8, maybe even 9 deer with this. Once I joined the Army, I didn't have a whole lot of muzzleloader season time to go hunt. I usually focus on rifle and archery season for a while. But I recently got rid of my bow, hoping that I'd buy a new one. And now deer season's coming up quick. I haven't had any practice this year, so I'm just going to jump right into it with muzzleloader season and skip out on archery this year. That being said, we're going to talk about the powder, primers, and projectiles that I use. These are the little Traditions Carnivore projectiles right here. Okay, and I'll pull one of these out here if I can keep from touching them with my fingers. The powder. Just dump one out here. If I do, I'll just swap them out for some new ones and use those for something else. But this is them. Did you see there? It's a little polymer tip projectile. It's a sabbated projectile too, so you've got this little plastic sleeve the bullet will sit into. The sleeve is what will get you to that 50 caliber bore diameter, and the actual bullet that you'll be shooting here, if it'll focus, let me see here, do that, there we go. That little bullet that you're shooting there is only about a 45 caliber out of these sabbated projectiles. So these things, they're really nice. I've killed 3 deer with these, and all 3 deer that I've shot with it, they have dropped in their tracks. No tracking whatsoever needed to be done. Now that could very well have just been the shot placement. It could have been all kinds of different things. Honestly, it was probably shot placement because 2 of them were high shoulder shots, and then 1 of them went through both lungs and heart. So more than likely it was just a really good shot placement, but they obviously also work other than that because I got complete pass-throughs. The expansion looked well as you look through the wound cavity. Not too much you can complain about. The powder is just 777, and then I used the Winchester 777 primers for it as well. Now, for those of you that don't know, CVA Wolf uses 209 primers. The reason that I love the Wolf so much, and there's other muzzleloader companies that do this as well, but this breech plug is just buttery smooth coming out. And it's got quite a few threads here to get it out. But once you get to that last thread, takes a second. This is kind of embarrassing part, but that right there, just a nice little breech plug, comes in and out super smooth. You just put a little bit of anti-seize on it, and it goes in and out every time without any issues. So whenever I first started hunting with muzzle loaders, I was using an old percussion cat muzzle loader, and you could not get it apart to clean it. It didn't matter if you had the right nipple wrenches. It didn't matter, what you were trying to do with it. You could not get it apart. You could not get it clean easy. And it was just a pain to have to deal with every time. For this to be, I think now you can get them for under $200 still. So we'll say sub $200 muzzleloader just to get you out in the woods and hunting. And even, long term, like I said, I've had this muzzleloader probably coming up on 8 years now. And it's been an awesome muzzleloader for me since. I've killed a deer in Tennessee every deer muzzleloader season that I've been there with it. I killed my first buck with it. Just an awesome little muzzleloader for the money. And we'll get another video of me shooting this thing whenever I take it out to sight it in. But that'll be all for this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll get you some more content.